The one part that I didn't plan out for this video was the intro. So I guess that will be my intro here. And you ask Trent, why do you do something you don't have it planned out? As a matter of fact, that's what I want to talk about today, because I want to talk about congruency with my procrastination. And I have procrastinated on, if I can talk, I procrastinated on making this video for, I'd say several weeks. I know I've needed to take the dive and do something that I'm not super comfortable about. I wanted to have, the perfect lighting and the perfect notes written down and the script, and I needed the camera, or the this or the that, and the background here was all wrinkly, and I was like, do I wear a hat? Does the blue go with the red? And I was going through all of these scenarios leading up to this, but what I want to share with, if you get a phone call or you're already bored of watching me, is that self-leadership, the way we lead ourselves, is essential for the influence that we want to have. And that influence, whether that's in our families or at our work, that influence is gained when we have integrity with ourselves. I want to share a little bit about that. I'll tell a story about myself. I'll do a little bit of teaching, share some tips on how to lead ourselves well, and then why it's important. Because we're all interested in learning stuff, but if there's not a why that we can attach to, then we're probably not likely to listen or engage in learning something. So the one funny thing that I've come to realize is that I am the biggest sucker for myself. If there's ever a bad idea, man, I'm the first person to talk myself into that. Other people are like, hey, Trent, you want to go do this? And I'm like, it doesn't sound like a good idea. But then when I come up with a bad idea, it's like, yeah, we could do this. We could save the money. We could, I could call that person right now and just, be like, I got a family thing going on. I'm not able to share with you in that time or that experience. So we make excuses to ourselves, and man, I am a professional at talking myself into a bad idea. But also, on the flip side, aren't we great at talking ourselves out of good ideas? You know what? I actually have this other thing I have to do, and I have a headache right now, and I just don't have the time, and I'm just feeling uninspired. And those are excuses I use to not make this video. And so that's the story that I want to share with you. It is literally that I've gone live before, and I've done some videos, I've spoken in front of people before, but there was something in my head where I knew that once I started this progress of making videos, of sharing a little bit about myself and teaching and adding value to other people, I knew that once I started, I'd have to commit to it. And so that was probably the biggest thing for me. I knew that once I started, I wouldn't be able to stop. Not only because I would be held accountable then, but also for myself. It's like, all right, Trent, you broke that ice. That static friction is gone now, and you don't have to fight against that anymore. You've already done the first video that no one watched, or maybe 5 people watched. And so let's talk about a couple different types of leadership here. As I mentioned before about self-leadership, we can lead in our families. We definitely lead at work, even if you might say to yourself, but Trent, no one works for me at work. There's the customers that we serve. There's our peers that we absolutely influence, whether we know it or not. And also there's several ways that we actually lead ourselves. We lead ourselves emotionally, we lead ourselves physically, spiritually, and mentally. And how are we caring for that part of us? How are we taking care of those different aspects of our self self-leadership. And I'm just going to kind of do an introduction to this. I'm not going to go deep into all of these categories. But the one biggest thing that I have seen is that the person we struggle to lead the most is the person we see in the morning in the mirror. And we see that person all the time. And I see that person all the time. And I'm disappointed by that person sometimes, especially leading up to this. It was like, Trent, you need to do that. Like, you know what you want to talk about. And I was just like, yeah, but I don't feel good and I'm out of town. And do I really know what to do? And is my website ready? And is my YouTube account ready? And like, will people like this online? Or are people going to come up to me in person and be like, Trent, like, that was kind of dumb. And one of the great mentors that I follow is Brendon Burchard, and he was talking about haters. And it's like, one, I'm not even going to engage, but also on another level, I shouldn't even engage those things in my head, because like I first said, that self-leadership and that congruency, like, because I procrastinated for so long, I wasn't congruent with myself. I knew I needed to. I actually felt bad about myself because I wasn't doing this. And so in order for me to have congruency with myself, because I knew I needed to do this, I had to make this video. I had to press record. I have to press publish. I have to take some notes. And I have to make this thing happen, because otherwise it's just bugging me in the back of our minds. And I think we all have things like this that we know we need to do. We know we need to stop doing something also in order for us to be congruent with who we know we want to be. But on the same token, if we don't have a vision for what we want our life to be like, if we don't have a vision and a plan for where we're going, then we're going to struggle. We're going to struggle finding congruency because we have nothing to be congruent with. So I want to talk a little bit about setting a vision for ourselves so that we can start having integrity with who we want to be in the future, and start setting plans for where we want to go and who we want to be and what that looks like. And what we can do is we can, in our heads, I prefer that we write it out on a paper, but what do we actually want a day to look like for us? But and down to as simple as the things we eat, the way we talk to people, the way we interact. In fact, those are some of the most important things because they matter the most to the quality of our life. But if we can start to plan out some of these things and start putting an expectation of what we actually want, then we can actually attach some integrity to that and start to act on them. And you're like, well, Trent, that's way easier said than done. And it's like, absolutely. That is so true, because we all, matter of fact, it's normally the small things that we struggle with the most when it comes to integrity. But this concept of having integrity with ourselves, we think it's having integrity that other people trust us and that other people, value what we have to say, and that we're not lying, and that what we do, we always do, and we're not deceiving people. But here's the thing, is that we lie to ourselves all the time. We deceive ourselves all the time. And so we start to not trust ourselves. And when we start to not trust ourselves, we don't like ourselves very well. We don't take care of ourselves very well. We don't take care of our health. We don't take care of our mental state. We don't get enough sleep. We don't check and maintain our spiritual health. And then all of these things start to break down because we don't like ourselves, because we've lied to ourselves for years. So it starts for me by setting really small goals. And I take a new habit that I want to build, and I do one new habit every month. And so I spend a month building a new habit for what I want my life to be like. For myself, some of the things that I've done is when I first wake up every morning, I drink water. I just take a drink of water. I spent a whole month building that habit. And now I don't even think about it. I just drink water every morning because that's what's normal. And I built that habit. Another example is I journal every morning. And And I gave myself a month. Matter of fact, that was just this past month that I learned that every morning, literally the first thing I do is I grab my journal and I write down the things that I'm thankful for. I write down some of the things that are on my mind, the vision, and then I write down my goals. But that took a month to make that normal. Now, if I don't do that, I'm like, man, something feels weird this morning. I'm off a little bit. We're used to habits. So what are some things that you can find in your life that would be great new habits? Maybe you can do two big habits a year or something. But like, start setting some goals for you, because once you get some momentum, like for me, I'm like, man, I can get a new habit in like a couple of weeks now. I mean, 2 to 3 weeks. It doesn't even have to be a full month. So it, like, we're all going to struggle with having this integrity. Maybe it's going to be even later tonight. It's like, do I go get dessert after I eat? And it's like, well, I know I shouldn't, because I told myself I wasn't going to eat sweets, or I wasn't going to indulge in these things, or I don't want to spend the money. So why do we convince ourselves otherwise? Well, I think a great place to start is just to start with a simple, small habit. Maybe it does have to do with something like eating. Maybe it has to do with like, hey, on that third drink, I don't wake up as good in the morning. It's like, then don't ever have a third drink, because you know the consequences of it, and you need to have integrity with yourself because you know the consequences of it. And when you know the consequences of it, then you can have integrity with yourself. So wrapping all of these, like these ideas up, that we can see that self-leadership really impacts more than just us. It impacts the way we interact with our kids, the way we interact with our siblings, or maybe you're a student and it's a teacher, because here's the one thing we know. We might like to vacation like people that don't have great self-leadership. We might want to drive the cars that some of these people that don't lead themselves well have, but none of us want to be like them. And we all know them. And if you're a parent, this is very evident to you, because you don't want your kids spending time with those who don't lead themselves well, because it totally influences their character and the quality in what they do with their life. So leading ourselves well is very, very important when we look at it in that light, because do people actually want to spend time with us? Do people actually want to be around us? And you can say maybe, well, Trent, I don't want to be around anyone. I like being alone. I'm around too many people already at church, and going to family functions, that's just ridiculous. I'm fed up. I'm done in like an hour. But are we being really congruent in that moment? Is it that we don't like being around people, or it's that we don't like the people that we're actually around? So that would be a really good question to answer specifically to that, because we all desire to have influence. We all want to have impact. We all want to have meaning. And the one thing that if you're a parent, or let's say you have a leadership role at work, that just because you have that position doesn't mean you have influence. It simply means that you have authority. But it doesn't mean that you have influence, and influence is a completely different thing. And here's another very, very interesting thing, is that if you lead yourself well, that's the secret, that's the key. That when you self-lead yourself and you do it well, you gain influence, because people see that, people know that, people are drawn to you. They want their kids to be around you, because they're like, man, this person, they know how to control their anger. They know how to control their eating. Hey, they have self-respect. They take care of themselves. They watch what they say. So that's kind of what I want to just wrap up with, is that self-leadership is absolutely essential for successful influence. That if you're looking for influence, or if you already are an influencer, if you already have influence over people, leading yourself is going to be the best thing that you can do to lead them, because people do as what they see modeled, not as what they're taught or told. So the best thing that I can do, even in making a video like this, that I was kind of annoyed and I'll be honest, nervous to start making. Now I'm comfortable making this. But the best thing that I can do to have integrity with this video is that what I say right now, I live in real life. And I have to do that because otherwise my influence is going to be flawed. People are going to be like, man, Trent says one thing, but he lives a totally different life. So now I have to live with that responsibility and have integrity with my own life because of what I've shared here. So we've learned that influence and authority are two very different things. Self-leadership is essential to them. Also, we found that leading ourselves, that person we see in the mirror, is the hardest person to lead, the most difficult person. And we've probably spent years or decades lying to ourselves continually every day and not being congruent with ourselves, maybe even on just tiny little levels, just small little ways. But like we've learned, then we don't trust ourselves. And then we live very unhealthy lives, and that can really spiral into a dangerous place. Lastly, hey, if you like this video, if you like this content, go ahead and leave a comment below. Like it, share it. Thankful so much that you made it all the way to the end for this video. This is so exciting to have this built. Also, another thing I want to share a little bit about is if you go to my website, I'll have a link below. It's caseforclarity.com. Is if you're a parent, I have a little tab on the top right corner of my website, and it says course survey. And if you're a parent, or if you want to be a parent maybe, there's a survey there because I'm going to be building an online course for young adults and high schoolers to young adults out of high school and in college. And this course is going to be designed to help really set in a vision and find what we value most so that we can go towards it, about building even deeper habits. So this survey is just going to be a couple of questions. If you could help me out and fill it out, that would be great if you're a parent, because I want your feedback, because I want this course to be built exactly for what you would want and what you would need help with to make sure that your young children or the young adults that you're parents of, that they can step into adulthood with vision, with integrity, with success and find meaning and really be successful in that transitional period, whether going to college or not going to college, or they're at work, or maybe they're in the basement still playing video games way more than what you're comfortable with. But if you're a parent, if you could just go, that's caseforclarity.com. Appreciate your time so much. Thanks, guys, and stay tuned for more.